August 1895. Indian Territory. 5 young men are about to start a campaign that will last exactly 13 days. Choose your character. Except you can't, because all 5 are locked into this run. No restarts, no save points. And the end is already written. Player 1, Rufus Buck, age 20, Creek and Black heritage, the leader, high charisma, 0 wisdom. His endgame strategy? There isn't one. Player 2, Mahoma July, age 23, the experienced one. He's done this before. Minor crimes, jail time. He should know better. He doesn't. Player 3, Sam Sampson, age 22, the loyal follower. Whatever Rufus says, Sam does. No questions. Fatal loyalty perk activated. Player 4, Lewis Davis, age 20, the muscle. When words fail, Lewis doesn't. Intimidation stat maxed out. Player 5, Lucky Davis, age 18, the kid, youngest in the party, joined because his brother Lewis was going. That's it. That's the entire reason he's here. 5 players, 13 days until game over. No continues, no second chances. And they're about to speed run straight into a noose. Fort Smith, Arkansas. Judge Isaac Parker presides over federal court with jurisdiction over Indian Territory. They call him the Hanging Judge. Not a nickname, a job description. 79 men have already dropped through his gallows. He's just getting started. Indian Territory in 1895 is a lawless zone. Cherokee, Creek, Choctaw, Chickasaw, and Seminole nations govern themselves under treaty. But those treaties are fracturing. White settlers are flooding in illegally. The federal government is preparing to dissolve tribal sovereignty entirely. Into this chaos, 5 young Black and Creek men who've decided the system is rigged, the future is stolen, and if everything's ending anyway, they might as well take what they can while they can. August 4th, 1895. Quest begins. Objective unclear. Victory conditions non-existent. Rufus Buck has a plan. Not a good plan. Not even a coherent plan. But he's convinced the others it exists. They're going to rob, terrorize, and fight back against everyone. White settlers, tribal authorities, federal marshals. Doesn't matter. Burn it all down. First target acquired. John Garrett, Creek rancher. Shot, wounded, survives. The Buck gang takes his horses. Not the most valuable loot. But the timer has started. They hit a general store, not for money, for supplies. Ammunition, food, they're not even trying to hide. Witnesses everywhere. Stealth stat, 0. But here's the thing about going loud in 1895 Indian Territory. Backup is hours away. Sometimes days. The nearest U.S. Marshal might be 50 miles distant. Local tribal police are undermanned and outgunned. The Buck gang is operating in a temporary power vacuum, and they know it. Crimes escalate. Pattern emerges. They're not Robin Hood. They're not revolutionaries. They're 5 young men with guns, rage, and no exit strategy, terrorizing everyone in their path. They rob Creek citizens. They rob white settlers. They assault women. They don't discriminate in their victims. This isn't resistance. This is chaos. Newspapers will later struggle to explain the violence. Some will claim it was retaliation for injustice. Others will call it pure evil. The truth is simpler and more devastating. 5 people with nothing to lose, convinced the world ended the moment they pulled their first trigger. U.S. Marshals mobilized. Tribal police activated. Creek Light Horse law enforcement on alert. Possum forming in every town. The net is tightening. But the Buck gang isn't running. They're escalating. They attack a family traveling by wagon. Rob them. Worse. The details are documented in court records but too graphic for newspaper publication in 1895. Some crimes don't need elaboration. The court testimony speaks for itself. The gang encounters a lawman. Shots exchanged. The marshal retreats. Not because he's afraid, because he's outnumbered 5-1 and smart enough to know the difference between courage and suicide. He rides for reinforcements. The countdown accelerates. They have one last chance to run. Disappear into the Ozarks. Vanish into Creek Nation lands. Hide with family. Something. Anything. They don't take it. Maybe they think they're invincible. Maybe they don't care anymore. Maybe 13 days of adrenaline and violence has burned out whatever part of their brain handles long-term planning. The game continues. The end approaches. U.S. Marshals have the location. A farmhouse. The Buck Gang inside. No more running. No more raids. The campaign ends here. The Marshals don't negotiate. Don't offer surrender. They surround the structure and wait. Hours pass. The gang knows they're trapped. Finally, they walk out. Hands up. Guns down. No final shootout. No blaze of glory. Just 5 young men realizing the game is over and they lost. All 5 arrested. Transported to Fort Smith. Judge Isaac Parker waiting. The newspapers explode. Reporters flood the jail. The Buck Gang becomes national news. But not as revolutionaries or resistance fighters, as monsters. The crimes are too brutal. The victims too sympathetic. The racial dynamics too complicated for 1895 America to process. Creek Nation leaders condemn them. Black community leaders condemn them. White settlers condemn them. They've united everyone in disgust. That takes effort. Judge Isaac Parker presides. The evidence is overwhelming. The witnesses credible. The defense has nothing. Guilty. All 5. Multiple counts. The sentence is mandatory under federal law. Death by hanging. They have weeks to wait, not months. Parker's court moves fast. The gallows are already built. They've been used 79 times before. 5 more won't take long. In their cell, the Buck Gang requests 2 things: a group photograph and paper to write on. The photo is haunting. 5 young men in suits, cleaned up for the camera. Rufus Buck stands in the center, defiant. The others arranged around him. They look like a church group, a sports team. Not murderers, not rapists, just kids. Fort Smith, Arkansas. The gallows, 5 nooses, 5 men, 5,000 spectators. They came from 3 states to watch. No last-minute rescue. No governor's pardon, no miracle. Just a trapdoor, a rope, and gravity. 11:30 a.m. All 5 hanged simultaneously. The drop is clean. Next break, deaths are instant. In 1896, that counts as mercy. The bodies hang for the legally required time. Doctors confirm death. Families claim remains. Rufus Buck, age 20. Mauma July, age 23. Sam Sampson, age 22. Lewis Davis, age 20. Lucky Davis, age 18. 13 days of terror. 9 months of imprisonment. 1 morning at the end of a rope. Total playtime. Less than 1 year from birth to death for their criminal careers. Final score, 0. They gained nothing. Lost everything. Took innocence with them. The Buck Gang wanted to be remembered. They are. But not as heroes. Not as rebels. As a cautionary tale. That photograph survived. The poem survived. They're in archives now. Studied. Analyzed. Debated. Some see 5 victims of a racist system. Some see 5 predators who got what they deserved. Most see something more complicated. 5 young men who lived in a world that gave them no future. So they decided to burn it down, and took innocent people with them. Indian Territory became Oklahoma in 1907. Judge Parker died in 1896, 8 months after hanging the Buck Gang. The gallows at Fort Smith were dismantled. They're a museum now. 13 days. That's all it took. 13 days to destroy 5 lives and traumatize dozens more. 13 days from first crime to capture. 9 months waiting. 1 morning dying. The game was rigged from the start. They played anyway. They lost. And unlike a video game, There was no reset button, no New Game Plus, no second chances. Just a photograph, a poem, and 5 graves nobody visits.